So let's rent some servers, right? Let's get down to brass tacks and talk about how does this work. I'm going to start. Excuse me, let me sit down for a second here. So here's a server that's been running for a little while. I'm going to clone it. I'm going to call this cluster a KTA demo, right? Why not? And we're going to ask for a bunch of servers. We're going to ask for them that they all be large. We're going to have one master job, master node parsing out the work. We're going to have the core tasks that are always on, and then we're going to use the spot price thing, which is actually the ability to bid on unused capacity. So it's almost like coming to your hotel at night and saying, imagine if the hotel here said, oh, we have an extra room available. Sir, if you're willing to pay $6 for it for the night, be our guest, go use the room. The difference, of course, is that imagine if they also told you, if somebody comes in willing to pay $7, we're going to come in and turn that siren on and kick you out. All right, so have a good night's sleep for as long as you can, but be prepared to be jostled out in the middle of the night and shipped out. That's kind of what this is like. So we have to design our processes to handle this and be ready to be dropped off and pick up where other servers are running. So we'll start this right now. And what I'm going to do is there's a little bit of a cooking show component to this, right? Where I'll put one cake in the oven here and pull the big cake out of the other because we don't have time. But I'll start the job as well. And what I'm going to do here is add 4 tables that we say we want created. They're getting started now, and they're running on over here. So what you do is you add jobs that are listed as pending here, and the master node is going to farm out those jobs. That's all starting now, and up to as many servers as we get are going to be working on it. So let's go back to, while that's running, let's go back and say, okay, well, what have we done with the data? And again, I'm hoping this is useful enough for you that you can go back and start to think about your own data and using your own records. So when we look at the then and now of call detail records, some of you probably would find this, will recognize this. Anybody ever worked with Bell Core AMA formatted records? A couple nods there, yeah, okay, a few people. So you know that this data was not meant to be friendly by any stretch to the human eye. It was built in the late 70s when we got off when we were moving towards meter billing. And, sorry, away from meter billing, more towards detailed recordings. And what they did was they knew that they didn't have even the kind of space that you had here today. And they built it in a very, very compressed way. So much so that you needed a decoder ring to understand it. And if you look at things like the date, just as a for instance, I always kind of find this interesting. Where is the date? Carrier connect date is 4/1031. Anybody know why it's only 4? What year is 4? Well, it's 2014, but they were so worried about saving space, they didn't dare put the 2014, and you didn't even put the 14 in, because every character counted. Because you're dealing at a time when space and processing were very expensive. So they had to bake we'll call this the compression, and they baked that right into the call detail records coming off the switch. There wasn't much more you could do to compress this. It came off pretty compressed. And you only recorded what was needed, and you needed a decoder ring to figure out what was there. And not all records, not all fields were there every time the call was made. But it was very effective, and this is still used in production just about everywhere. Today, we tend to see a lot more just kind of open-ended writing out of stuff, right? We see call detail records that have 226 fields that are blank. Everything is written out long form. Here we go, 2014, 01, 10, 12, 36, 52, it's all there. But the data is then compressed later. We know all these tools, zip, unzip, unzip, all that stuff. That's how the compression is achieved, right? So the general philosophy nowadays, though, is that if you can conceptualize it, you might as well record it. So it's creating a lot more data on your networks than we were even just a few years ago. So we need an algorithm to think about this. To how do we parse these records now that they're in a position that we can use them? And the analogy I like to use is of card count. Card counting is the wrong word. Card sorting. There's more. You can imagine several decks of cards. If we had a deck of cards and we split them all out and tried to find how many aces were in each one, we'd be better off developing. Well, we know the answer is 4 of each type, but we would be better off splitting the cards into groups and have everybody work on a little bit of the pile and standing up and saying, I found 3, I found 1, and counting them together. And that's really what this cluster that we're running in the background is doing right now. It's parsing out these cards. And we're running them right now on billions of phone records as we speak, which is even more cards than were in the hospitality suite last night. All right, so we're looking at this. This is exactly the kind of record we're pulling at, and we're trying to get to some pretty simple summaries. It's just basically sum up the number of records by telephone number. And we're running up different kinds of jobs here. We're running up sum up the amount of data consumption used. It could be sum up the number of SMSs used. But it's all that. It's sum up, off the raw data itself. Okay. So as that job's running, I want to talk a little bit about a few reasons why you want to do this. Right? The data itself is, let's take a look how our job is doing. Pardon me here. If I hit refresh. It's been running for 4 minutes. We, incidentally, we got our 16 nodes that we asked for. The 20 that we said, the extra ones, we said we're only willing to pay 2 pennies an hour for. They haven't been authorized yet. So this is the equivalent of everybody's asleep in the hotel, and we're not able to evict anybody yet because we did this. If we upped our grid price, just like anything else, we could get these in a flash. But since the data's already been run, we're okay with this.